of leaving President Donald Trump with a foreign policy mess. But before we get started with this demonstration, let me read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everything that you hear in this demonstration is only allegedly. Now, when it comes to the foreign policies, all right, we all know some of Donald Trump's foreign policies, certain things that he's going to be putting in place. And we're going to be discussing what he's going to be doing his first day in office. Salute Shano. Salute Shano. Appreciate you for pulling up. Salute to the chat. Salute to my replay gang. Salute Yvette C. Salute Yvette C. So it seems like with all of the things that's been going on in these foreign countries, now Trump has to come in and Trump has to clean things up. Biden has left a whole heap of confusion and a whole lot of mess. But let's get into it, y'all. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
And KT McFarland, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor. KT, great to see you this morning. It's kind of curious because it seems like Syria had been kind of quiet for a number of years, and then suddenly in the last couple of weeks, it exploded. Well, can you explain why that has happened over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, all right, so Syria was governed by Assad, and he was weak and incompetent. And he was propped up in governance in Syria by Iran and by Russian forces, by Russian military equipment, by, in some sense, Iran's money. But they're preoccupied now. As President Trump so rightfully said, Iran is preoccupied because of what Israel did to Iran and Hezbollah. And Russia is preoccupied because of Ukraine and a faltering economy. So those two guys propping up Assad, they were propping him up as well. And so the rebel groups, and there's not one rebel group, that's what's important to remember. There are a lot of different rebel groups. There's Turkish-backed ones, there's an ISIS Al-Qaeda rebel group. We're even in the middle of it with 900 American forces backing another rebel group. But the rebel groups got together and they saw a moment of opportunity and they moved into Syria. And so now, who knows what's next? And President Trump is so right to say, let it play out. This is not our fight.
And as y'all can see, y'all know that they have been in my bushes because y'all just heard her use my favorite slang, let it play out. That's how you know that they all be in my bushes. Even even Fox News is using Shank Rock's term, let it play out. Now, what I have to say about it all, why is the United States of America always in everybody else's fight? Why is it that? As Trump said, when he get in office, there will be no more wars. And definitely, if there is wars, the United States of America won't be tangled in any of these wars.
I'm just sorry we have 900 American forces in that country because who knows, are they sitting targets? Are they potential hostages? What's their role going to be? We don't know.
I agree, let it play out, and we shouldn't be involved. But if we're funding, Turkey is funding groups, we're funding groups, Israel's funding groups, we are involved. So now what, KD?
And before she finished, Yvette C says, yes, they definitely be watching, and the feds too. Oh yeah, we definitely know the feds be watching. But I'm as clean as a baby's ass. So I have nothing to worry about. See this. I just have a call. I'm getting a call from United States government number. But that's neither here nor there. But why? Why for so many years? Why are we always in foreign affairs? Why are we funding? Why are we always funding these other countries?
Well, this is where you don't know what's going to happen. So, in some ways, it's a very good thing because Russia's taken down a peg, and Iran has taken down a peg. Iran had used Syria to send weapons from Iran to Syria into Iran's proxy forces around Israel. So Israel's to an advantage, right? Because their adversaries are not being resupplied. Russia's down because Russia has military equipment there, Russia had a port there. So that's all good in a sense, but now you don't know what happens. It's not as if there's a unified rebel group. You could have fighting within the rebel groups. You could, on the other hand, have rebel leaders who say, I see the trend in the Middle East. It's going to be peace in the Middle East. It's not Iran. We don't like Iran. We see that the future of the Middle East is Arab Israeli peace agreements. So you could have the other extreme. I mean, I was with Henry Kissinger, Rachel, when he did the first 1973 disengagement agreements after the 1973 Arab-Israeli War. And Syria was always the hardest nut to crack. Jordan, you could figure out Jordan, you could figure out Egypt, you could figure out the Saudis, you could figure out Israel. But Syria was always the hardest nut to crack because it's not one group. It's not one ethnic group in Syria. It's many ethnic groups. It's many tribes.
It's not just one ethnic group in Syria. It's many, many tribes. Sajid says, I read Trump's tweet about Assad a couple of days ago.
And Bashar al-Assad's father was Hafez al-Assad. He was head of it then. But now you have nobody in charge. Now that's a country that's been governed by one family for, 60 years? Not clear what happens next.
No,
And see, this is what you always have to keep in mind. It's the same way when the United States under George Bush, the son, under his command, when we went over there and we got Saddam Hussein, you got to understand with any country, any people's way of life, they've been governed under the Islamic laws for centuries. For centuries. Now we intercept all of this, we intervene, and we overthrow these leaders in these Islamic countries. Well, what state will that leave the people? I mean, it's one thing if America practiced what America practiced, but to go into other countries and overthrow these leaders, to help overthrow these leaders, you always got to think about the people. What's going to become of these people that have been living a certain way for thousands and thousands of years?
Tribes, all the different ethnic groups fighting over who's going to control this area. That is basically underneath, KT, what you mentioned a moment ago, which this becomes a mini version of the global game. Turkey, Iran, to some extent, depending on their capabilities, Russia still, and the United States. Excuse me. You mentioned Trump and said, let's stay out. He put out a statement saying, let this play out, we're going to stay out. But as Rachel and you have both said, well,
they love using my words. Salute, Cotan. Let it play out. It seems like Trump is the only one with brains. Trump is the only one that sees, look, everybody's fight is not our fight. I've been saying this for the longest time. So why is it that Trump can see it, but many of the other presidents never could see, hey, look, this is not our fight. And for once, we are just going to ride it out. We're going to step aside and let them slug it out. Do you know how many people have lost their lives behind jumping in other people's beefs, other people's fights? It happens all the time. Then you jump in the fight, You get all mixed up and tangled up in this fight, and now you done lost casualties, because you got to know that it's casualties when it comes to war on both sides.
Got 900 troops already there. We've been in this game. So it seems to me that we have a choice. We either remove those 900 troops, because you pointed out they're sitting ducks, they're targets to some extent now, or we have to double down. We have to go in more or pull out. I don't know how maintaining the course is a realistic, look, we all hope for a great outcome and minimal U.S. investment. I'm just not sure that hope is a realistic hope.
Or who we're investing in. I don't know who the bad guys are, who
Exactly.
the worst guys are in this situation, KT.
And that's another thing. You never know who the bad guy is. You never know who started the actual fight. Let me come and let me talk to y'all for a second. You never know who started this fight. You never know who started this beef. Most of the times, people take the sides of the person that's close to them. Most of the time, people take the sides of the people that they know. People take the sides of people that they like over the people that they dislike. But you just don't know that person that you're close to, that person that you like the most, that person could be the one that started the fight. Now, the person on the other end that you don't care for, that you don't like, that person on the other end, they just defending themselves. They're just standing their ground. Now, here we go, United States of America, we always jump into somebody else's fight. Always. And you know what comes along with when the United States jumps into these fights. Manpower. Think of the many soldiers that has to be deployed. Think of the many soldiers that have to go to these foreign countries and risk their lives. Then you have to think about the finances. It takes finance to wage war. It takes finance to go to war. So here come the United States of America. Now, we're losing money and we're losing casualties. These are human beings. These are real people with families that we're sending off to these fights. Sajid says, unrelated, but guess what, Shank? We just re-elected our former president back into office. Ghanaians have realized that they made the wrong decision by voting him out, and now he's back to clean the mess. Good for you, Sajid. Good for you. Let's give the Ghanaians a round of applause. And it's okay because we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But this is what I'm saying as far as what I saw in Trump. Now, everybody got their own opinions when it comes to Trump. But when it comes to foreign affairs, when it comes to foreign policies, my belief, Trump is our man. Trump is the man to get the job done. What Trump said before he was elected about the Russia and Ukraine war. He said, if I'm the president, if I was the president, it would have been nipped in the bud. I would bring a decease. The war would completely stop. And if y'all notice, the 4 years that Trump was in office before this term, those 4 years that he was in office, there was no war. Sajid says, so we got our Trump back into office. Yeah, for you all. Yeah, for you all. But I like how they uses the let it play out. We all know where y'all heard it first at. You all heard that phrase, let it play out, from the old man, Shank Rock. But it's glad to know. See, for a minute, people wasn't listening to me. And let me put the camera on me. For a minute, people wasn't listening to me. They hated to listen to the old man. And I was giving them facts. And I was backing up the facts. I was producing receipts. I was telling the truth. But some people just didn't want to listen to me. So now it feels good to know that the people, after all, are starting to listen to the old man. Drop a 1 in the chat if you are listening to the old man. Drop a 2 if you don't listen to the old man.
Yeah, they're bad guys, and then they're even badder guys. I've got to assume President Trump knows what he's doing. And I've got to assume that at some point there'll be an ability to protect those American forces. You know, the greater thing is you take a step back in the Middle East, what's going on? And this was something that President Trump was right about in his first term. The United States, because of our own energy, newly discovered and new technologies, we now have enough oil and natural gas to power the entire world for hundreds of years, cheaper, safer, cleaner than any other country, any other region of the world. So the Middle East has been embroiled forever, you know, going back to the days of Jesus, if not before, by just warfare between tribes. But what made it important to the rest of the world was the oil. And now that oil is far less important. Syria doesn't have any oil, but everybody else in the region does.
And if y'all remember, back in the 80s, and even before the 80s, but if y'all remember in the 90s, that's what the whole beef was about, the Gulf War. That's what the whole beef with Saddam Hussein was about. When the father, George Bush, was in office, if y'all remember, Saddam Hussein ran American troops up out of the Gulf Coast, right? Now, when the son comes in, the son finished the job that the father couldn't finish. That's what the beef was with the son. The son, George Bush, really didn't have too much of a beef with Saddam Hussein, but it was more of a revenge. It was more of a get back. All right, you ran my father, you ran us up out of there when my father was president. All right, well, now I'm president. Now I'm coming for you. But it was always about the oil. Always. Globe says Donald, Donald, Donald. Trouble says, hey, yo, boy, my boy looks like he is Tyrese Gibson, brother. I appreciate the compliment, Trouble. I appreciate the compliment.
But now that the United States can replace the Middle East, replace Russia as the world's energy hub, as we have not only energy independence, but energy dominance, that part of the world becomes a very different place. If they don't figure out, those countries don't figure out some new game, some new way of having a strong economy, they're toast. And that was the genesis of President Trump's Abraham Accords. So maybe this group, if they can figure out who's in charge of this group, maybe they can find a way to peace. Maybe they'll just keep fighting each other, and only time will tell.
Yeah.
Salute, Leslie. Salute, Leslie.
Katie, you make a great point on energy independence and just getting ourselves extricated from that part of the world, at least economically. That makes us safer for sure. You know, on the other hand, you see Donald Trump in Paris, France, meeting with Zelensky, and there's a real effort to wind down the war between Ukraine and Russia. And yet we just saw that our government, Lloyd Austin and Joe Biden, just gave $1 billion to Ukraine. So we want...
But do y'all see the mess? Let me come down to y'all. Do y'all see the mess? Salute, Kiki. Appreciate you for pulling up. Biden. Now he just gave the Ukrainians $1 billion. If the United States of America doesn't need $1 billion, if the veterans of the look, y'all, our problems as Americans, our problems can be nipped in the bud. Our problems are small problems. However, because they go unattended to, then the problem becomes a bigger problem. How in the world, and if anybody disagrees with me when I say this, please share with me why do you disagree. But how is it that the veterans of the United States of America are treated like garbage? How is it that? How can it be we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine? We're so concerned about the people in Ukraine before we're concerned about our veterans. Let that marinate. Leslie says they too busy worrying about other countries. Exactly, Shank. It could be nipped in the bud. Our problems in this country could be nipped in the bud. But some folks don't want our problems to go away. And guess what? The folks that don't want our problems to go away is the real enemy of this country.
Peace, and we want to wind it down, but we just gave them $1 billion. Meanwhile, we have Americans living in tents in North Carolina.
Stop right there. Our homeless. I live in North Carolina. Our homeless. So now we have the veterans. We have the veterans that aren't being taken care of. Now we move down to the homeless. Do y'all realize the problem? We have the biggest homeless problem in the world. So now America, once again, we sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. However, we can't even take care of our veterans, and we can't even take care of our homeless. Somebody make it make sense.
You know, President Trump may want to end that war, but I think the Biden administration is going out of office days is slamming the doors and trying to make that war even worse, trying to make Donald Trump's job of negotiating a solution, a negotiated solution, even harder. And you're right. It's, you know, America first means America first. What are our interests in the region? What's important to us? And we should no longer ignore the needs of the American people. For some people in a country we can't even pronounce, people can't find on a map, and we don't know, there's not a vital national interest to the United States. Ending the Ukraine war, President Trump will do it very quickly. And as you can see, Russia's on the ropes in a lot of ways, Ukraine's on the ropes. He'll negotiate a solution very quickly. But the thing about the Paris meeting that it was just stunning to me was the body language. You know, compare it to where it was when President Trump was first term. Remember that picture? President Trump had been elevated, like 30 countries were there, and he was supposed to stand at the back and at the top for the photo op, and he just elbowed his way, muscled his way down to the front row.
Love that.
Caught his cutting, said, I'm here, let's take the picture. And here you have a very different thing, right? All the world leaders are rushing to try to stand next to him, to get a photo op with him, to whisper in his ear.
So for all of y'all that have the most to say about the Trump, why is it that all of the world leaders are rushing to take pictures with Donald Trump? How is it that the leaders of the world, how is it that they respect this man? Somebody make this make sense. Somebody. Benny says, yes, it is so sad. I see a lot of veterans asking for money at gas stations. I do give them a couple of bucks, bro. Globe says, yo, she kind of hot. Leslie says, we got homeless people here in Dothan living under a tent called Tent World. Thief King of Legend says, America first, Australia second. Salute, Sagittarius. But it says a lot about Trump when all of the world leaders are rushing to take pictures with him and to sit down with him and have conversations with this man. Benny says, by the way, I am from Dallas, Texas. Salute to all my people from Dallas, Texas. Shout out to all my people from Dallas, Texas. Make sure y'all drop in the comment section where y'all checking in from at. Benny is checking in from Dallas, Texas. Sagittarius is checking in from Ghana. That's in Africa. Let me know where y'all checking in from. You got that, Benny.
You know, Donald Trump, America is so back. It's great to see.
As you know better than anybody, KT, Donald Trump, you know, most people would look at this situation and be overwhelmed by all of the challenges facing our country. And Donald Trump is one of those guys, he looks at that as an opportunity. The more moving parts, the more you can negotiate.
Yeah.
You know, we're New Yorkers. I'm a New Yorker. Donald Trump has had a reputation for 40 years as being one of the best negotiator deal guys in New York and in the country. And
he's a businessman. Yvette C. checking in from Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I'm checking in from as well. Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to everybody checking in from Charlotte, North Carolina. NFRM says, I'm a veteran. When I needed help, I went to go seek it and took advantage of the resources that were available to me and my family. That's the difference between veterans like me and the ones asking. I appreciate your service, NFRM. And I appreciate all veterans. I appreciate all military personnel. I appreciate everyone that served in the military. Salute to all of you guys, you ladies. Salute to you all.
And he's shown in his first term, even with, the Russia investigation and the impeachment and the, deep state, even then he was able to get Abraham Accords, he was able to get trade agreements with China, he was able to do an awful lot. And so now that it'll be unencumbered, I think, by a lot of that, sky's the limit. America is going to be in such great shape under President Trump. It's going to be our golden era.
Now, what do y'all think? Do you think it was intentionally done? Because my thing is, Kamala, when it comes to the borders, Kamala did nothing to secure the borders. Biden, instead of trying to end the war, because here's the thing. If America doesn't send money to Ukraine, guess what? No war. NFRM says authors of Project 2025 have already had meeting with Musk and Ramaswamy. Veteran healthcare is on the chopping block. I hope that's not the case. Now we're going to go to what Trump is expected to do in his first day in office. Liquor checking in from Alaska. Shout out to all my people in Alaska. Thief King of Legend says a very divided media landscape in the U.S. In Australia, both state and corporate media beat the same drum. At least you have variety. I didn't know that, Thief King of Legend, but appreciate you for sharing that information with us. But let's check out what Trump is going to do his first day in office. Let's check out some of the things that he planned on doing his first day in office. Make sure y'all double tap the screen and hit the like button. Make sure y'all double tap the screen and hit the like button for me. And if you would like to support the channel, you could purchase a membership to the channel, or either you could purchase a super sticker or a super chat. Just click on the $ symbol and purchase a membership to the channel, a super sticker, or a super chat. Or if you would like to send a cash donation, my cash app is $ERICMCINT. NFRM says they want to privatize veteran health care. I say leave anything with vets, SS, and Medicare alone. Tackle big business to prevent them from raising costs. I'm from nowhere. Salute. I'm from nowhere says, so what's it gonna take for you to want me? I'd give it all if you told me that I'd be the #1 girl in your eyes. Well, first you could support the channel. So you could support the channel, I'm from nowhere. You could support the channel by purchasing a membership, a super sticker, or a super chat. That's one way to get my attention. Or you could send a cash donation to my cash app, $ERICMCINT. NFRM says, and get immigration under control. That would be enough for me. And I do believe that Trump means business. I do believe that the Biden administration failed us when it came to the immigration and getting the border under control. I believe that Trump will make things better.
I was with him. He was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do, in some cases. So, yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job.
Yeah.
Does that worry you?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, it's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing to say. But he's very respected. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him, really, they love him. So I think you're gonna have somebody that's really terrific. And again, all he talked about with me, I said, you know, you're not really a television guy, even though he did very well, as you know. You're really a military guy. He said, I'm all about the military. And I told him, so he's making a lot of money at Fox. They're doing very well. And I said, you know, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not gonna be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said, this is all about America. You know, he didn't say, well, let me think about it, let me discuss it. That's a very big, risky thing he's doing. When he goes and he says, I'm gonna give up, you know, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into
Yeah, sure.
your cabinet case a little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's gonna make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're gonna subsidize them, let it become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Wow. Salute Niche. Salute Pretty Proud Niche. Papa's got a brand new bag, says, and they left America broke from Obamacare. I guess the more mess to clean up is also more distractions. See, one thing when you listen to Trump talks about different things. Now, he always talks about the money that goes out, the wars that we always get involved in. That's the reason for the tariffs. That's the reason for the tariffs. Do y'all realize how much Mexico, do y'all realize how much China has been making off of us? Trump saying billions of dollars. So not only are we losing, not only are we giving out billions of dollars for war, we just losing billions and billions of dollars when it comes to these taxes.
So your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion, and now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't in fact pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
Now, this is a good question. This is a very good question. Make sure y'all double tap the screen and get my likes up. We got over 300 people watching with only 34 likes. Double tap the screen and get my likes up, y'all. But this is a good question, and I'm curious to find out how he's going to answer this question. Double tap the screen and get my likes up, y'all.
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have meant.
Why couldn't the other president, why couldn't Biden think this way, right? I mean, honestly. And y'all know me. If y'all been over here, y'all know that I do disagree with some of the things that Trump comes with. But for the most part, I agree with 8 out of 10 things that Trump brings to the forefront. But why couldn't Biden think this way, right? Come on, Trump.
Any purposes tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part, and we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. No, you mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio. I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio. And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines. And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people, it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make?
Wow. Salute 80s, baby. Wow. One thing's for sure, gas prices are down. Drop a 3. Drop a 3 in the chat if y'all notice since Trump won the election. Drop a 3 if y'all have noticed that gas prices went down. They definitely went down in North Carolina. Salute 80s, baby.
They became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people, it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make sure that consumers don't wind up paying more? Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs onto their customers?
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust it somewhat. But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And
Jimmy W says, Trump, you left office with less jobs created than when you took office your first term. Papa got a brand new bag, says, I just hope he doesn't forget he was spied on and cheated. Jimmy W says, Trump, you lost over 250,000 factory jobs.
when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries do to us, it became a very, very powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt. Tariffs are going to make our country safe because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them. They don't want to play games. And we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call. And it was at Mar-a-Lago, we were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. And in the case in both cases, but in the case where it was really visible, within 10 minutes after that phone call, we noticed that the people coming across the border, the southern border, having to do with Mexico, they were in a trickle, just a trickle. It was, in fact, I call the border. See, unlike my opponent, I do call the border a lot. And I said, how's the border looking today? They said, there's nobody here. They couldn't believe it. The military stopped these vast groups of people. You know, we call them caravans, but they're caravans of people, and they largely stopped them. Now, they're going to have to continue that, but if they don't continue, and the other thing I told them is no more drugs, and I told that to China too. I had a deal with President Xi. Had the election been different, I'm going to be very nice because we don't have to get into an argument over 2020, but had the election been different, the result been different, we would have had China giving the maximum penalty, which is the penalty of death, to people that sent fentanyl into this country. But Biden didn't, unfortunately, finish that discussion up. I had an agreement with President Xi, who I got along with very well. We've had communication as recently as this week. And I had communication with him where they were going to give the death penalty to anybody sending drugs into the United States.
This week you had that conversation.
And if y'all know, under the Biden administration, the fentanyl problem that America faced went skyrocket through the roof. And we know how the fentanyl got into the country. How do y'all think the fentanyl got into the country? The borders. The borders that was wide open. The border that allowed so many illegal immigrants coming over onto America. We then went through this plenty of times as far as the immigrants are concerned. We, as the American people, we don't have a problem with immigrants because we all, unless you belong to the native tribes, we all are immigrants. So the American people, we don't have a problem with immigrants, but we just want the immigrants to do it the right way because it's not fair. It's not fair to those legal immigrants. You got some immigrants that it took them 20 years. Some of them it took 30 years to be legal in this country, and they work hard. So it's not fair that the legal immigrants had to go through the process of many, many years, and then you have the illegal immigrants come in and they receive benefits less than 24 hours of them entering the country. So I don't want anyone to think that we are against immigrants. No, that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. So now that Trump is in office, and he said his first day in office, he's going to push the tariffs, and he's also going to get on the border. In fact, he didn't even have to appear there himself, but just the fact that they know he's the president. See, that's power. That's power. That's power. When the people have that much respect for you. Trump hasn't even officially took office. He hasn't even went to the borders. But as he said, now that they know he's the president and they know he's going to be cutting down on all of that coming in through the borders, he said, he called down there and asked, how's the border? He said, we don't see nobody. We don't see nobody. That's respect. And that's all I ask for. You know, I'm not caught up in the president's personal life. I'm not caught up in, you know, this and that. I'm going to take these last comments and then we're going to get out of here. Sensational says, are you open to debate about it? I'm always open to debate about it. Always. If you would like to debate, sure. Anna says, Trump should give respect to Biden and should stop mingling first while Biden is sitting. Now, this is what I have to let everybody know, okay? This is an open platform. It's an opinionated platform. Everybody's opinion is welcome. Everybody is welcome to give their perspectives. I don't have a problem with that. Salute Positive Vibes, but there are certain rules. And let me lay down the rules to everybody, okay? Rule number 1, no profanity. No profanity in the chat. That's rule number 1. If you have to use, because I know how sometimes you could get heated and everything, and you want to use those curse words, just abbreviate it. If you using the B word, just say B. If you gonna use the MFer, just say MF. Just put MF. We know what you mean. Please respect the rules. No profanity in the chat, please. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. I don't care. But that's rule number 1. No profanity in the chat. Rule number 2, you got to respect me and you got to respect my moderators. My moderators are the ones that's in blue with the wrench beside their name. They moderate for me because I can't do the demonstration as well as moderate the chat. So pay attention to what my moderators say. Whatever it is that my moderators are telling y'all, please respect it. Okay? Please respect me and my moderators. That's rule number 2. Rule number 3. Rule number 3. You got to hit the like button. It's for free. It don't cost you nothing. Just double tap the screen and hit the like button. That's all I ask. For those 3 rules. No profanity in the chat. Respect me and my moderators. And number 3, hit the like button. Now, what I'm going to be doing, because as y'all can see, I'm very busy up here. It takes a lot for me to stay focused on giving the demonstration, and it takes a lot for me to stay focused. I would love to read all of y'all comments. I would love to answer all of y'all questions. I would love to debate with y'all. I would love that. However, it's impossible. But if you have a question for me, if you have a comment for me, just hit the $ symbol. Grab yourself a 99-cent super chat. I answer all super chats. Put in the super chat your comment. Put in the super chat your question. Super chats go for 99 cents. All right? Show some support. That's all I ask, y'all. Look, I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Salute. What time is it? It's 11 o'clock Eastern time. I'll come back at 12 p.m. I'll come back in 1 hour. So just pull back up in 1 hour. All right? And we can chop it up again. Remember the 3 rules. No profanity. respect me and my moderators. And number 3, hit the like button. Double tap the screen and hit the like button. Also, if you have a question for me to answer, if you have a comment that you would like for me to read, purchase a super chat. Super chats are as low as 99 cents. Just like I respect you all, respect me. Just like I show all of y'all support by letting y'all voice y'all opinions and voice y'all perspectives, show some support back. Support the platform. That's all I'm asking for. All right, salute everybody. I'll see y'all back in an hour. Salute.